In this episode, I'm going to cover two well-known gangs, the East Coast Crips and the Frenzy F13, a Serrano gang. The East Coast Crips are one of the biggest Crip gangs in LA County, with many different sections. Most of the cliques are in South Central, but this gang has hoods in places like Carson and Riverside. The East Coast Crips are neighborhood Crips, so they had good relationships with gangs in that car, which I mentioned in my earlier videos, the Hoovers vs. the Neighborhood Crips Part 1 and Part 2. Even though they are neighborhood Crips, they don't hate every gangster Crip gang. The politics on the east side of South Central is a little different than the west. They have been known to clash with many gangs in the past and present, like the Maswan Bloods, the Broadway Gangster Crips, the Great Street Crips, the Kitchen Crips, and the Main Street Crips, just to name a few. But for the last few decades, they were beefing with the Frenzy F13, aka F13. F13 is one of the Latino gangs in LA that has a big name. They have different cliques in LA County and beef with a lot of gangs. It is said they date back over 50 years. They have some rivals like the 18th Streets, 38th Street, Playboy 13s, and of course, East Coast Crips. Their rivalry with the East Coast Crips goes back a few decades and has been a damaging one to regular citizens, as well as many gang members on both sides, putting a lot of hate for Latinos and blacks on both sides. In this episode, I'm going to describe a few cases in this beef with innocent people caught in the crossfire, as well as both sides putting in work. The first case happened on October 10th, 2003. Brandon Nichols and Lawrence Fuller, both members of the 7-6 East Coast Crips, will go on a mission. Brandon and Lawrence would drive through F13's turf looking for victims. They would see Mexicans out and start shooting. They would hit a woman named Arceli, who was a bystander. Minutes later, they would spin a few blocks in F13's turf and see another group of people and begin shooting. They would shoot a 68-year-old man and he would lose his life. Brandon and Lawrence will be arrested shortly after. Lawrence's car was registered in his name and was tracked. They would admit that Lawrence was the driver and Brandon was the shooter. Brandon Nichols and Lawrence Fuller both received life. October 11, 2004. Emmanuel Romero picked up Mario Moreno and Edgar Navarro in a stolen whip. They were all members of F13. Mario would tell him, "Let's go put in work," and with that his gun. Emmanuel would drive to a liquor store in 89 East Coast Hood. They would see two black men, Tyrone King and Darrell Denard, drinking in front of the store. Mario would shoot 3 times and hit both men. Tyrone would survive, but Darrell would lose his life. Emmanuel Romero and Mario Moreno would be charged in this crime. Edgar Navarro wouldn't be because he lost his life 3 weeks after the shooting. Emmanuel Romero and Mario Moreno both received life. November 21st, 2004. Carlos Nava, an F13 member, would shoot Marlon Miller in the head after he walked out of a gas station. The next day, his friend Raymond Perez would be arrested for a different shooting. He would call Carlos from the police station, and they would discuss both shootings and their roles in them, both telling each other to keep their mouths shut. But with this, they did the police jobs for them, with them calls being recorded. Carlos would be arrested, and he would admit to the 2 shootings. Carlos would say that he did both shootings after being pressured by Raymond. Carlos would say Raymond told him that an East Coast Crip was at a gas station and to smoke him, so that's what he did. Carlos Nava will receive 90 years to life. On the night of September 3rd, 2005, a van drove past Jeremiah Mitchell and Davion Jones as they were walking out of a store. Jeremiah and Davion were walking to our alley. The van would follow them shortly after. Frank Silva was the front passenger of the van and began shooting. Edward De La Cruz was in the back seat and will also shoot. Robert Contreras was the driver. Davion will be shot in the stomach in this incident. Officers would arrive on the scene after being in the area. They would chase down the van until it stopped. All 3 men were armed and would be arrested. The shooting took place in East Coast Crips Hood, at a store known to have East Coast Crips hang out in front. The alley even had East Coast Crips tags all over. The 3 men in the van were from F13. In this case, Frank Silva would receive 40 years to life. The next case happened on May 29th of 2007. A woman named Karina and her boyfriend Manuel Figueroa took their kids to get food at a taco truck in East Coast Crip hood. Karina and the kids waited for Manuel to return from the truck with the food. Karina would go get the drinks and walk back to the car. Manuel would hear gunshots while waiting at the truck and see Karina fall. He would see Jason Martin running away with a gun in his hand. Manuel would run to the car and see the kids screaming and his girlfriend Karina shot in the head. She would lose her life. Carlos Gomez would be a witness. He would see Jason running down 62nd and Main Street as he watched from an apartment balcony. Jason would notice him watching and shoot out the balcony, but Carlos wasn't hit. Jason would be arrested June 21st of 2007. They would find in his home notebooks and photos showing his allegiance to the East Coast Crips. In the notebooks, he would refer to himself as Little Spook or Spook 2. 2 weeks after the shooting, police would find tags dissing F13 and the Mexican race, and the name that was tagged on the wall was Spook 2. Jason Martin had no alibi and said he didn't remember where he was on the night of the shooting. Jason Martin was sentenced to 25 years to life. The last 2 cases happened in 2017. The first one happened in February 21st of 2017. Keyshawn Thompson, who was from 7-6 East Coast Crip, would approach 3 Mexican men in an alley. He would diss F13 and began to shoot. He would hit 2 of the men. He would later be arrested for this and another crime on March 31st. Thompson was sentenced to 165 years to life for the shooting of the 3 Mexican men and also for a separate shooting where he shot at an ex-girlfriend. The last case happened on August 19th of 2017. A group of Mexican people would be riding their bikes on 77th Street. The group included Nancy, Florencio, Manuel, Maria, and Stephanie. They would get into an altercation with a person in a white truck. Then soon a black Honda would pull up and begin shooting. Stephanie would be shot, but she would be fine. Nancy also would be shot. Florencio would be shot in the back, but he wouldn't make it. Florencio was an F13 member. The 3 men in the shooter were from 7-6 East Coast Crip. Their names were Jalen Goldbolt, Sean Ray, and Brandon Wise. Sean would want revenge because a week prior, his car was shot up by F13. So this shooting was get back. Brandon Wise would be placed in a cell with an informant. He would be played into running his mouth. He will tell him who was in the car or who was in the shooting, and about prior robberies. Jalen Goldbolt will be placed in a cell with 2 informants. He will tell them that Ray got rid of the gun. He will also tell them that all 3 of the men were in on the shootings. He will also say he threw his gun away. All 3 will be convicted for the shootings and several robberies. Jalen Goldbolt received 230 years to life. Sean Ray will receive 230 years to life as well. And Brandon Wise was sentenced to 107 years to life. With all the shooting and problems over the years, these 2 gangs came to an agreement after several sit-downs and meetings to call a truce. Even though most of these stories never end positive, hopefully this one could stay this way for both sides and the black and brown communities as a whole. With that being said, this will conclude this episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more.